Hello, hello, hello. It is Monday, January 29th, 2024. That's right, the month is almost over already. That's a good thing, though, because that means for us, spring is coming. Now, I know there's been crazy weather going on all across the U.S., and we had our own, we get cold weather here in Georgia. I don't care for it, as you all know, but I do look forward to the transition to where we start to have spring and, of course, summer. Now, I know we don't want hot temperatures, but I'm more comfortable with a hot temperature than I am with cold temperatures. So I can always come inside, turn on the air conditioning in my shop, and keep on working. But that's just the way it is. We can't stop the weather; it's going to keep coming no matter what we do. So we just have to adapt to it and keep moving forward. As I said, it is Monday, and this is a 7 o'clock live stream. If there are any new viewers checking in, I encourage you to be involved, to be part of the live stream. I try to talk about classic cars and stuff that we can do to them, or may cover questions or subjects that you may have an interest in. So if you're new, by all means, let me know you're here, and let me know if you have a question or something like that we can talk about. I usually have a pretty good answer, I think, and if I don't, I have a great group of people over there in the chat box who typically do. There's a lot of knowledge here, and we try to share it as much as we can and help each other out along the way. And if you participate, you get a little bell. It's just something I offer for free. Yes. So to give you another update, those of you that have been following along, you know that I had a surgery 2.5 weeks ago, and I'm doing pretty well with it. I have still some minor discomfort now and then. But I'm definitely improving and getting much healthier. And what I'm finding is, because of my time off, let's say, I'm feeling better in other ways. Like my back doesn't hurt as much, my knees don't hurt as much, my ankles don't hurt as much, and I'm continuing to recover. And I try to keep moving. I'm going for walks, maybe 2 to 3 miles a day if I can, and try to keep things circulating and moving, and try to get the recovery taken care of. So I haven't been really doing anything out in the shop. It's too easy for me to think, oh, I'm healed up, I can lift this now, or I can do this, and I have to remind myself, no, don't do that. You're going to end up causing problems. Listen to the doctors. So that's where I'm at this moment. Like I said, I'm feeling pretty good and healthy, but I have to be cautious and not overdo it. So that's the update on me. I hope everybody else is doing well as well. Let's see who is here. And first one in tonight is Rick Stevenson. He was here quite early. Greetings, everyone. Had a wonderful weekend at the Rolex. How was yours? That's good to hear, Rick. Glad you're here. I guess we had a pretty good weekend, I guess. Didn't have any problems. Terry Keithley. Evening all, Barry. Please hit the like and thumbs up for Barry. Thank you kindly. Yes, thank you, Terry. And I want to give you a shout out for signing up to be on Patreon. And also, if any of you, this is just kind of a general PSA. If any of you are following me on Patreon or helping me out with Patreon, and you don't see a video or an update from me, at least weekly, make sure you're still in the thing, because I know I've lost some people, and I don't know if it's because of timing with the payments or charges or whatever. Maybe an update on a card or something like that. I'm just letting you know, if you're in there and you want to stay in there, you may have to update that stuff. So just a PSA there. Jorge Sanchez, hi Barry and all. Hit the like and subscribe by all means. Please do, and glad you're here, Jorge. Dave Britton, how is everyone? Pretty good, Dave. He's checking in from Canada. Glad you're here, Dave. That's our first Dave sighting. The Infernal Craftsman, Robert, is checking in. Evening all, nice 72-degree weather here today. Summer is just weeks away. I don't want that soon. I know that, but you can have it. Keep it in Texas for a while. Roger, Hindsight 67, greetings from next door. I'm back from a quick trip to Florida The weather was much nicer there, mostly anyway. Well, glad you're here, Raj. And I hope you had a good trip. Hoping. I assume you went for a certain reason. So I'm gonna say I hope you had a good trip. Evan's Garage. Hey all, it's been a minute. I'm back at it in my messy garage and making progress again. That's awesome. Glad you're here, Evan. Jerry checking in from the Money Pit in Middle Tennessee. Good evening to all, and thumbs up, Barry. Thumbs up for Barry. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that, and I'm hoping that you're fully recovered from what what the surgery and stuff you went through as well, Jerry. I could have used some of that 70 degrees. It was overcast and 42 degrees with 7 to 8 mile per hour wind. Yeah, and Robert is saying it'll be 110 here before you know it. I'll bet. Evan, I've got a question for you all to ponder. How do you protect bare metal you won't get back to for a while that you will eventually epoxy or otherwise paint? That is a good question. To be honest, a lot of times if it's something I'm working on in here, I don't apply anything. Unless it's going to go outside or have something interact with it inside the shop. At least where I live in Georgia, we don't have much problem with stuff, rusting. Of course, I have my heat and my air on out here to keep moisture out and all that sort of thing, but I've really never had an issue with any of that. Now, if it is, it's just a very light kind of surface rust. However, if I'm doing the prep work and everything, stripping it out, getting it down to bare metal, I will probably spray it with epoxy because I know I'm going to work from there out anyway. Just might as well do it and get it done. But otherwise, I've seen people take rattle can stuff and just throw some paint on because they know they're going to strip it off later. So there's that kind of thing you could do as well. But that's really all I see as simple options. But that is a good question. Thank you for that. Rusty, hello Barry and all from Southern Indiana. Glad to hear Rusty. Evan's Garage, I've been using simple primer that comes off pretty easily since I'll have to clean it well anyway, but other ways you use. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty simple and it seems to work. Dave Conville, good evening. Dave number 2, glad to hear. Troy Justin, happy Monday gang. Can't wait until you get back to Slither, but as always, good. I guess good to see you alive. Yeah, see you alive and well. Yeah, that would be awkward if you checked in and I was just laid out on the floor. Maybe I'll do that sometime. Just be laid out. But thank you for the sentiment. Glad you're here, Troy. Jerry is checking in. Howdy, Barry. Howdy, y'all. It was a beautiful day here, I guess, in Texas. Robert and I went to the zoo, and I didn't leave him there. Thank heaven he paid for lunch at In-N-Out. Okay, well, that's a good thing. I'm glad you made it home safely from the zoo. Bad Harry is checking in. Hi, all from Ontario, Canada. Get better, Barry. Thank you, Harry. Appreciate that. Douglas Weingarten. Hello, all. Hope you're all doing well. Yes, I hope so for everybody's sake. Glad you're here, Douglas. Mr. Mikey. Howdy, y'all. Glad to see smiles from Deleter, Barry. Well, yeah, thank you, Mr. Mikey. No charge for the smiles. Ray Buckman, hey Barry and all, hope everyone is doing well. Tomorrow we will have our first 60 degree of the year. Spring is almost here. That sounds awesome. We've had some nice, we actually have had some really warm days recently. I know that we're looking at Friday a high of 63, Thursday a high of 58, so good temperatures. Good temperatures. So yeah, glad you're having some good weather. Dave Tyson, good evening all. Glad to hear Dave. That's the third Dave sighting. Car Guy Troy, hi there, checking in from Utah. Glad you're here, Troy. Hope all is well. And Dawn is checking in. Hello all from balmy PDX at 50 degrees. That's pretty good, Dawn. Glad you're here. I was just watching. I watched your recent video. Well, one of your recent videos. I know you've been doing a lot of different things, and I was admiring the generator setup that you have, because I have a big. Well, I say big. I have a 5,200 watt generator, gas generator, and I also have an electric battery source with a generator that runs off of solar if needed. I can charge it up with other ways, but I really hadn't looked up or thought about ways to connect it to the house like you did. I think that's a great idea, and I probably need to be more proactive in coming up with a wiring setup so that I can use what we have. We had an ice storm probably, I don't know, 5 years ago or something, and it shuts down Atlanta. If there's an ice storm, forget it. You're done. And I had to fire up the gas generator. And, I didn't even think about it at the time, because we have, in our house, we have 2 gas furnaces. And I didn't run those because I never thought about the fact that you could just plug it in or power it up. And here I was running a kerosene heater in the house, which is fine. I like kerosene, they work good. And I had the generator running to power up the refrigerator and freezer to protect, those sort of things. And we'd run some lights and stuff, but I didn't really even think about the idea of just directly powering in the way you did. So I'll have to look more into that. That's a great idea. And also, I was watching what you did with the shifter and the water pump and that sort of thing. So I'm trying to catch up on some of these videos. I know that Wally, the 68 Mustang Restoration, he's working on a Cobra. And I know he's put out videos on it, several, and I just haven't had time to get caught up on any of that, which I probably should be doing more of that since I'm down at this point. But that there's plenty out there to see, but I just have to find my time to get on there and watch it. So glad you're here, Dawn. Michael Pagliarini, hello all from snowy and rain, Rhode Island. Well, that's not good. I don't like snow and rain. That's not a good combination at all. Ed Cucciarella, hello all. Hello from Southern California. It's 75 degrees today. Well, that's nice. Glad you're here, Ed. Rusty, I have a question about T10 4-speed. I ordered a rebuilt factory shifter from CJ, and the linkage bars aren't even close. Any idea where I could find any? Ooh, I can't help you with that. Don might have some information. I know he's dealt with 4-speed stuff, but I don't know what he's got. But I'm just saying he may have some more information on that. But I don't have a source for you on that sort of thing. So if anybody has any input to that, by all means, let them know. There's been some other things, some other conversations I've been having on the Cobra Jet. And to give you kind of an update on where things are as far as parts and pieces and different stuff, I know in the last video that I actually made, I had gone to Florida and picked up parts and taken some parts back down there. And Charles' wife has been contacting these vendors in an effort to get them, to at least help out if they can and take some of the stuff back. Now, I will say that some of them have been very nice and helpful. And she has been able to send back parts from, I got to think of the name. I can't think of the name. It's like Speed and Track or something like that. So they took back the disc brake setup and a couple other pieces. I don't forget what all that was ordered in that bundle, but they're going to take back all that stuff. And of course, she has to pay shipping. There's no way around that. Shipping is shipping. The rear bumper that he had ordered, she was able to send that back. And there's been other pieces that she has canceled or worked on trying to get sent back. Now, part of the problem is some of these companies, they won't do anything. I have parts from what? Let me see what the name of it is. I know I have this name because I'd gotten a message about it. It was Chassis Works or Chassis Work. Yeah, they won't take anything back. Nothing. So we may put up some stuff on here. I may make a video and show you some of that stuff if we can help her and resell it. You know, I know we probably can't get what's in it, obviously, but at least if somebody needs it or something. And I don't know, it's parts that would be really cool, but I don't know. I can't say that I can justify using them on my vehicles. But it's a from Chassis Work, Chris, how do you say it? Chris something. They had ordered a rack and pinion setup for a manual rack and pinion setup, and these front suspension and shocks with coilovers, and they're not going to take any of that back. The other one was Lichens. I think it was Lichens, was one that he had ordered. He had ordered the. Let me think here. Lichens was engine parts, I think, and I don't think they're going to be taking that back either. Oh, Street Track. They're taking back all this stuff, so that's good. She's also has a Holley EFI fuel tank and some other Holley stuff. Yeah, Chris Alston Chassis Works. Yes. Thank you, Dawn. They won't take back anything. So I do have on that setup, there's lower control arms, upper control arms, the manual rack and pinion, and all like the strut rods. Yeah, there's a whole kit. So I'd have to look at it and see exactly what he is, what he's ordered. But she's trying to send back some stuff to Holly, and there's going to be more stuff that comes along. We already sent back the adapter for the 6R80. I know that went back. And there was something else that she got sent back. So, unfortunately, some companies will work with you and some of them won't. And, I get it. It's not in their best interest to take back parts that they've already sold, So, anyway, just giving you a heads up that I'm probably going to post something about all that. And also, I had an email, just because we talked about it last week, that Lynn had sent me. Now, Lynn had told me that he had all these parts for 67, and I'm just going to go through the list real quick just to say what is available from him. The pony and corral for front grille, belt line, driver's passenger weather strips, wheel opening moldings front and rear, hood molding trim, grille molding trim both sides, black ABS front spoiler, rocker panel molding both sides, rear bumper brackets, hood letterings for Scott Drake, 289 running horse emblems both sides, and lettering set Scott Drake fender trunk both sides. Now I don't know exactly what the dollar figure is. I know what he paid for it. I haven't kept up with any of these items specifically, but I think he's got $975 in all that stuff. So, and we talked about that last week about the items. So, all right, let me get back up here and see where we're at. Okay, Rick Gain. Hello all, looking forward to warmer weather. Hope it comes soon. Yes, glad you're here, Rick. And Don says, unfortunately, all he has is top loader stuff for his car. Wally, good evening, everyone. Personally, my wife is getting sick of me hanging around the house, so this keeps me back in the garage a few hours a day to give her a break. I understand that. Troy, what Dawn did is not recommended. I will send you a method for connecting your generator to your house for us in Georgia, given to me by an electrician. Okay. Well, that's fine. I appreciate that. And Troy, I have a plug on outside that goes to my breaker box. Okay. Well, then I'll have to look into that. Thank you. Lost 2-1. Hi, Barry. Wishing you a speedy recovery. Do you put body filler over epoxy or strip that area first? I have gone straight over epoxy. Now, keep in mind, epoxy is a very, very hard primer. Okay. And the window of opportunity for, let's say you put epoxy on and then you come back with a high build or something, 2K, whatever, you're going to have, I think 4 days, I think is the limit. So what I do is if I spray it with epoxy and I'm going to let it sit, either way I'm going to sand it. Now, I'm not sanding it to go to bare metal. I'm sanding it to break the surface and make it something that the body filler can adhere to. So that's normally what I would do. If I don't care if it's sat for a year, I'll come back and sand it, scuff it up really good, clean it, and put filler on it. I've never had an issue with that. Some people may want to take it all to bare metal again. Let me tell you, epoxy is really tough, and I can't say that it's worth it, but I have seen people do it that way as well. So there's some debate on that, I guess, but I'm okay with leaving the epoxy on there, sanding it, and coming back in with filler on top. So good question. Simone, Hooked on Classics. Hi, Barry and chat. How are you doing? Hope you are all well. Thank you, Simone. Glad you're here. Jimmy Quinn saying hi to Simone. And she says hi to Jimmy and hi to Robert. Dawn, I'm dealing with Chassis Works about those TCP. TCP. I'm not sure what TCP. I probably do know it. I'm just kind of lost for that right now. Chris Alston, Chassis Works. Okay. Robert's saying hi to Simone. Car Guy Troy, Likens Motorsports has a YouTube channel. Lots of Ford and FE Engine Works, same place. Yep. Same place. And he'd ordered a bunch of stuff from them. And apparently, from my understanding, the text that I got, they're not going to take it back. I think it's what she said. Yeah. Wait a minute. We'll have to verify that. I have to verify that. So we'll have to verify that again. But that maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe they'll take it back. I don't know for sure. Robert, some of that is made to order stuff, so I get it when they won't take it back. Yeah, I do too. But like control arms aren't really. I mean, I don't think they do anything different. It's just a control arm. They would have to really, I don't think they make it like a certain change the length on it or anything like that. But I understand what you're saying. A lot of the stuff is custom built. Rick, you need an interlock breaker in your panel connected to an outside outlet to legally backfeed your house with electricity from a generator. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Rick. Appreciate that. Robert, I'll come out and set you up with a transfer switch and sub-panel setup. There are other cheaper ways depending on the panel you have, too. Yeah, that's probably going to be a problem with some of my... some of the existing... never mind. We can talk about it. Dawn's Manufactured Total Control Products. Okay, there we go. I couldn't put the dots together. So, Simone, I recently got to work on Cortina, Barry. He would not start, and I found the distributor was out of alignment, and the float bowl had rust in the bottom. Time to strip and clean and fit a manual choke. Okay. Well, I'm glad you figured it out, because it'd be, it's never fun when something doesn't want to start. ever. And I see Harry has sent me some. He sent me some. Well, they're movie clips, so I can't play those, unfortunately. I know where he's built his car he had built, which we've had pictures of it up before. I think that's the car. And he sent me some movie clips, but I can't play them because I can't load a movie onto this format. So that's where we're at. And Samosas took ages to diagnose. Yeah. But I'm glad you figured it out. Here's something that I find interesting that I'm going to just put this out there because I had, as I said before, I've been not doing much of anything, and growing up in the 70s, right? Any of us that grew up in the 70s may have, like I didn't personally have, but I had friends who had games like the Atari, right? She had Atari systems, and then later they came up with the Nintendo and the Sega and of course PlayStation, all those things. So growing up in the 70s, a lot of us maybe went and played arcade games, and then eventually maybe got some gaming systems in our homes and stuff like that, and the kids played them. And I know that I had a lot of fun with that whenever I was a kid. And then when our kids were kids, I kept buying, we'd buy them games and let them play these games and stuff. And I would play as well. I had a lot of fun with them. But there was a game out, and I'm just bringing this up because this is something I really enjoyed doing. And I haven't done it in a while. There was a game out for the PlayStation 4 or 2, I should say. I think it was 2. That was called Destruction Derby. Now, any of us that are car guys, I always got a kick out of demolition derbies or enduro races where you'd race like 200 laps on a little 3/8 oval with 100 cars in the event. So any of the stuff like that was memorable. I think a lot of us could look at that, go to a county fair and there'd be a demolition derby. My dad did a lot of demolition derbies, and my dad and brother raced in a bunch of enduro races, and it was just like that. In one race, they went to one event. I think they had 200 cars in the event at one time on a track, and I think it was at Jennerstown Speedway up in Pennsylvania. But anyway, I digress. There was a game out called Destruction Derby, and it was just that. It was just go wreck each other and have a lot of fun doing it. Well, I could never figure out, because you look at these gaming systems and they come out with a new game or they update an existing game like Call of Warfare and all those things where you have multiple generation of those games that continues on. And I was so frustrated. I was like, I can't play that old game on the new system. They don't let you do that. But I couldn't find that game, so I kept passively keeping an eye out for something like that. Well, let me just show you. I want to show you this picture. So this is the game. I don't know if it's in connection with, I don't know if it's in direct connection with Destruction Derby or not, but it's basically the same thing. So it's called Wreckfest. And I discovered this game was out there, and I had to order it. I was like, I've been looking for one of these games for quite some time. I had no idea what was, what to expect from that. But let me show you the very first car that you get. I'm getting to the point. I'm getting the very first car that you get to drive in Destruction Derby is a 68 Mustang. It even has 68 on the side of it. Now, they go out of their way to add little accents or shape variations to the cars so it doesn't look exactly like a 68 Mustang, but I can tell you that's a 68 Mustang. There's no way around it. And essentially you go onto the game and there's a demolition derby and you're driving a 68 Mustang, which I can tell you up front, you would never, ever, ever use a Mustang for a demolition derby. They're not designed for that kind of stuff. However, it is a lot of fun to go out there and run around and try to smash up stuff with these cars. The other thing they do as you really when you start off, the first thing they give you is a lawnmower. So you do a demolition derby with lawnmowers. It's a blast. I have so much fun playing that. But I really like the fact that they're using a 68 Mustang. And then in some of the other races, one of the Mustangs is a 71 Mustang. I think there's at some level, when you look at the picture on the cover here, it's hard to see it, but there's what appears to be the taillights right dead center. The taillights look like a 69 Mustang. And I haven't progressed very far into that game yet to find out if you can change out your Mustang or not. But there are other cars that you can buy, and I'm just pointing this out because it was a fun game, and I really do enjoy the fact that I can go out and smash something up, let out some frustration, and not really get hurt. So anyway, that's just my input on the video game stuff. Bad Harry hit a highlight on my Mustang. First time in 3 years the car is moving under its own power. So let's go back to that for just a second. That's the car, and I think somebody's asking a question about the color, and I know you brought it up before, but we'll address that again. That looks really cool. I have to admit, I'm not a fan of that necessarily, but it does look good under the hood. It does. So you get a bell for that. Let's see. And the color that Evan was asking, what color is it? He says it's pearl metal viper blue. So there's the answer to that. Harvey checking in. Hello, Barry, from a secret bunker, New Jersey. Welding George's trunk floor and shock crossmember in 67 Camaro. Pics sent. I don't know if you sent them to. I don't think you sent them to my email. But if you want me to show them, they would have to show up on my email. So, but glad you're here, Harvey. And Simone, yeah, that blue is nice. And Ray Buckman, nice to see someone using a Ford motor instead of LS swapping. Yep. Rick, I still have an Atari 2600 I purchased off eBay a few years back. We still have our Nintendo, the first Nintendo. I don't think we have a 2600. Harvey, I'm sorry, Wally, not Harvey. I do have a question. Do I need a proportioning valve with four-wheel disc brakes, no drums, cannot bleed rears, and will bypass the valve tomorrow? And if works, can I pull it? I believe you still need some sort of proportioning valve because on a brake system, you don't want all four brakes activating at the same time, right? So if you look at the old cars where they had a single bowl master cylinder and they basically had one feed, it was putting pressure on all four like drum brakes all at the same time. There was no variable to that, and they later changed that and added the proportioning valve or later combination valve when they went to disc and drum combinations. But I feel like there's got to be something in that situation because you want to have your brake bias. You want to have something. The front brakes usually activate first, and then your rears just a little bit apart. I don't think you want all four hitting at the same time, so there has to be something in there. Simone, I still have. Oh, good question, Wally. Sorry, Wally. I get Wally and Harvey. They're very similar names in my mind, but good question. Simone, I have a Atari 2600 Junior, and Destruction Derby was fun. Yes, it was a lot of fun. Robert, you wanted a disc brake proportioning valve, preferably an adjustable one. So there you go. Evan, I bought an Atari 2600 from a yard sale with about 20 games for $5 in 1999. Yeah, and some of those people still, they want those. Dave Conwell, I think I had Destruction Derby on the Commodore 64. I haven't thought about that in years. Yeah, the only time I ever saw it was on like a PS2. And I played it so much. I don't know what it was, 10, 15 years ago, that I still have the memory of the crashes and the sounds, and just it was a lot of fun. Robert, the original drum brake one holds pressure on the drums to keep the shoes from collapsing in and take a couple pumps to push. Hooked on Classics. Oh, that is cool. Del Marine. Oh yeah, need to get that game now. Yeah. I mean, I was really surprised when I saw it, and it's just called Wreckfest. So I found it on eBay for $14 delivered, and I'm enjoying it. And I can play online against people too, so I can do that, but only on the PS4. So, Del Marine, glad you're here. Wally, thank you. I know with drums for sure, but with four-wheel disc, I thought you just need a distribution block, which is not in the car. Yeah, that's not good. Gene, hey all, glad you're here, Gene. Hey, you got a lot of comments on the video. People liked what you were doing, and as I commented, the stuff that you did was really, really good. So, be proud of that, and make sure you keep on working on it. Dwight Douglas, good evening. Evening, Dwight. Glad you're here. Harvey says, forgot and will email. Okay, thank you, Harvey. Bad Harry, four-wheel discs in my 67. I'm using Willwood part number 260-11179. So, there you go. Wally, there's an answer for you. Simone, that reminds me I need to check the brakes aren't stuck since I last drove my car. Yeah, that's never fun. Troy Just that settled Monday nights now. Game night with Barry. Well, you know what? I that would be fun. That would be fun. You know, I've tried to do other games. Years ago, I had some of the NASCAR stuff. There was one called Dirt to Daytona that I used to play. And then there's of course what's the like fancy one, Gran Turismo. And I found out I had some of those games, and I found out my oldest son hated that game because it was so hard for him to play that he just like, I hate that game. Because when they're younger, they just want to just drive into a wall and just crash through it and all that stuff. But in like Gran Turismo, you really have to drive the vehicle, and it's hard to do with little joysticks. Dawn, modern cars have a proportioning valve built into the distribution block if needed. Yeah, I think they call it. Well, I've always called it the combination valve because it does everything. So I don't know if that's the right term, but I think it's combination valve is what I usually say. Gene said, thanks all, especially Barry. I'm trying to do my best. I have great teachers here. Well, you're doing a good job. No doubt. No doubt. Robert, for factory style, this one from Summit should work for you. Also on eBay for less, usually. Summit part number 760185. So look at that. You got two to choose from. So hopefully Wally is taking notes and writing some of this down. And I have to get a sip of coffee. Let's see. Robert says adjustable ones are a few dollars more. Okay. Brandon, hey Barry and everyone. Question on my 68 sail panel. The lead filler is still fine, just needs a little smoothing. What are your thoughts about body filler over lead? I don't see that being a problem, but I can't say for sure that it is or isn't. I feel like I've done it before to where I've just gone over it. You may end up isolating it. And what I mean is like spraying epoxy on it or something like that and then building up from there. But I don't know specifically if lead is an issue with good body fillers. I don't see where it should make a difference. It doesn't care what it is. Steel or lead. You can also maybe check the application. Say like I use Rage Ultra. You may want to just look at their application guide and say this can go over X, Y, or Z sort of thing. But I don't see it being a problem. I wouldn't remove it if it's in good shape and there's no issues. I'd leave it alone. And then decide whether you can look at their applications, and if it says you can go straight over lead, then do it. I don't think it should be an issue. If it is, it may say not need to have a barrier between like epoxy. So that's a great question, though. Thank you for that. Simone Barry, have a game on a PS4, Car Mechanic Simulator. It's great. I don't get filthy stripping down a V8. Yeah, that would be, yeah. If only you could just do it and then it would be done in your car, right? That would be fantastic. It's kind of like, apparently when they did the surgery on me, they used a robot. I guess, I don't know how they do that. If they just like sit back and push buttons or little joysticks, I don't know. But apparently a robot does the thing. Bad Harry, I have run into a small glitch when installing bottom door rubbers. There must have been something on them as they didn't stick. I did shrunk rubber with no problems. Do you clean the door rubbers? People have run into that problem before. And I think part of it depends on where they were made. And what they may have put like a talcum or some sort of a powder residue on them. I can't point at one specific brand. I think I was using a product. What was it called? Steel. It's kind of weird. They have the name Steel Rubber products, and I think that one those were good and clean. But I don't know what the fix is, other than like I said, cleaning them, because if the glue is not holding them, or if they're peeling off the glue, obviously there's something involved. But I don't know what to tell you to clean them with. You could experiment with a little bit of lacquer thinner and wipe them down to see if it takes off any residue, and be careful with that. That's about as far as I can go with that situation. But yeah, those are that's frustrating for sure. Wally, yes, we'll know more after I bypass it if it is the culprit. Okay. Rick Gain, an old TJ Hooker show, showed a 65 Mustang and a 79 Camaro. Nice to see cars like new in old shows. Yeah, I was watching, what did I see the other day? There was something that as I was, every time I watch older shows, 60s, 70s, my wife will tell you, if I see a Studebaker, I'm like, Studebaker. I get real excited about seeing a Studebaker on any kind of old TV show. So I think there's been I think Mr. Ed, if I remember correctly, I think Mr. Ed is before my time, trust me. But I think they had a Studebaker Lark that was like their commercial. I think there's something involved with Mr. Ed and Studebaker, like Studebaker promoted the TV show or whatever, was sponsoring it. But yeah, it's nice to see those cars, even the plain Jane ones that you would just bypass, normally. It's nice to see them out there. Robert, on my El Camino, I just sealed the lead with epoxy and then forgot it's there and keep working it like anywhere else. So there you go. Put epoxy on it. And a good older PC game was Carmageddon. I don't know that I've ever played that one, but that would be interesting, I'm sure. Hooked on Classics, I haven't seen TJ Hooker since the 80s. That show was great. Robert, the white stuff on the new rubber seals is a form of a mold that helps preserve them in the bags. I'd clean it with IPA, aka high percentage rubbing alcohol. So there's a better answer than I have. I think you're talking about a mold release, not mold as in mold, but like a mold release. Is that right, or is it? Am I wrong? I don't want to think of it as a mold, like a fungus. Um, but I guess that would make. I don't know. But I would trust what Robert's saying here. IPA, aka high percentage rubbing alcohol. So there you go. Gig'em Garage. Good evening, Barry. Good evening, Gig'em. Glad you're here. And Robert, great. Now I'm going to be saying, hello, my name is Mr. Ed now. Glad I could help. Dawn, I figured that was mold release agent. Yeah, that I was thinking that too, but he says it's an actual mold to control oxygen. It's used. It used to be in the paperwork for Metro molded parts. Interesting. I really wouldn't have even thought of that, but that's okay. I'll take your word for it. Cargo Troy on the old show topic is watching the Night Stalker series. He drives a yellow 66 Mustang convertible, kind of cool. Okay, now I don't know what that show is. I don't know that I've ever heard of the Night Stalker. Interesting. I don't recall, that name doesn't ring a bell with me. Simone, I found a video where a guy saves a Studebaker stiletto. I looked for history on it but found nothing. Must be super rare. Well, that I've never heard of, a Studebaker stiletto. So I don't know what that may have been. It's funny that you bring this up because I came across some pictures from a guy who saved, back in World War II. Oh wait, okay. So Wally is saying, great show. Think Supernatural, but instead of a Chevy, it is a Ford. Okay. I'm going to back up a little bit because we're talking about odd cars and stuff. But when World War II was going on, there was no car production, as we know, from like, I don't know, 40, I want to say 42 to 47 or 46, 45, 42 to 45. I don't know. I guess there was maybe something in 46, but I don't know what I'm getting at is they stopped producing cars because of all the war effort. And so in the timeline of those cars, some of those are pretty rare because they may have produced a few and then they stopped. And then by the time the war was over, the design had completely changed and they weren't using those anymore. And the reason I bring this up, I had found some pictures of I think it was a 41 or 40, I want to say 41, but maybe 42. I don't remember exactly, but it was a Studebaker. And this guy found it in a field, and it was pretty rough looking. It was really kind of rough looking. And he ended up rebuilding it into kind of a street rod kind of thing. And in looking at it and seeing what he did to it, I think he should have left it in the field. It was an ugly, ugly car. I don't know what they were thinking in that time period, but you look at what was being produced, 39, 40. I know that my dad had a 40 Studebaker coupe, and this next thing that they came out with was just one of the ugliest things I've ever seen. And the guy saved it, and he shouldn't have. That car was so ugly. Even with him doing a custom hot rod job to it, there was nothing saving the looks of that car. It was really, really, really bad. And so I don't know what was on the drawing books or drawing board for other manufacturers, what they were trying to come up with, but this thing, it was really, really bad. Really bad. All right, I'm going to delete a couple things here because I think Harvey sent me some pictures and I'll have to get those pulled up. Have to let everything bounce off the satellites a couple times. Okay, so let me see where we're at on the comments. Car Guy Troy, Darren McGavin, he was a reporter in Chicago, kept running into vampires, supernatural stuff. Oh, okay. That does sound different. Troy Jussett, Darren McGavin played the dad in The Christmas Story. A Christmas Story. Oh, okay. Okay, interesting. Simone, I really like Studebaker. I shame they didn't have them over here. I think they actually did have them over there. They were exported. Now I don't know if there's many left over there, but I'm pretty sure they were exported overseas. I know that, but I don't know where exactly. But Dwight Douglas, when replacing quarters with partial panels, is it best to flange them or butt weld? That is a good question. Part of that depends on the skill set. To be honest, part of it depends on the skill set. Now, also part of that depends on what your end result, what you want it to look like. It's easy to say one or the other. Like you could say, okay, you should butt weld it because of X, Y, and Z. Butt welding is difficult. I think we all realize that, and it takes patience. You really have to just force yourself to take your time. I mean, you want to do very extended segments. Let it cool. A lot of people they'll even hammer and dolly it to relieve some of the stresses as they move forward. And depending on what you're looking for on the inside and outside comes into play. If you flange it, you're going to end up with something on the inside. If that doesn't matter to you, then that's fine. You can flange it. But you end up with that overlap piece inside of it. And I've done that before, and I've taken that and just seam sealed it and just kind of let it go, and it's fine. Just leave it alone. So you have to look at it that way. What are you looking for as an end result, and what kind of skills do you have? Because it's not easy either way. I mean, you can, by flanging it and welding it, you eliminate some of that load factor on it from the heat, but still a straight line, you do those welds, and it can be very difficult. So you kind of weigh those out and see which way that leads you is kind of how I'm going to look at that. But good question, Dwight. Robert, some cars are rare for a reason. That's right. And rare doesn't always mean valuable. Hooked on Classics, I like butt welding. I like the challenge. Yeah, it's a good challenge. It is. Del Marine. I've seen decent four-door cars with welded up back doors and metal over windows. Look like tanks or hearses in the end. Yeah, I know that there's a guy on YouTube. I think he's got quite the following, where he takes like 55 Chevys that are four doors and modifies them into two doors, and it just doesn't quite work. I mean, you could see that it could, but it's just something just doesn't ever look right when he's finished with them. But people apparently like that, like seeing that stuff. Robert, let me see here. Let me pull it back up. I have flanged some things. Flanging can easily be stronger, but butt welding can easily go bad. If you don't like the backside, I have no problem with it being flanged. Yeah, that is true. It works. Okay, so Harvey has sent me a couple pictures. Let me pull down Robert's comment real quick. And so this is the Camaro that he and his son are working on. And this is the 67. And welding in the truck floor and shock crossmember on the 67 Camaro tonight, and watching on the phone. So that looks pretty good. And here's another shot. So that's looking up at the frame rail, I guess. But he said putting it, oh yeah, okay, there you go. So he's putting in the pan for the shock towers. or for the shock mounts. Yeah, it's always interesting when you compare like the Mustangs and Camaros, how how the difference in design, just the way things, one company does it one way and one company does it another, but it seems to work. Don, DD Speed Shop does 4 to 2-door conversions on Tri-5 Chevys. Looks okay. Yeah, I mean I've seen he was down here on the Hot Rod Power Tour, and I saw one of his vehicles, and kind of tough. It was kind of tough, but I get it. I mean, there's a market for that. People like this. They like doing that stuff. You can't find the original 2-door car, and if it means cutting up a 4-door and making it into a 2-door, so be it. So obviously, there's people interested in it. Simone, thanks, Barry. I'm off to sleep now. Almost 1 a.m. Good night, everyone. Good night, Simone. Glad you're here. Rick Stevenson, I don't want to talk about what some of my welds look like. Okay. We'll avoid that. Dennis Paulson, hi, Barry and gang. Hope this year has started off, I guess, well for everyone. Glad you're here, Dennis. Hope all is well with you. And Amateur Hour Restorations, hey, Barry, starting to warm up a little here in Indiana. Well, that's awesome. Spring is coming. Spring is coming. Del Marine, Bambino bedtime now. Take care all until next Monday. Cheers. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how long I'll be hanging out tonight. We'll stay here a little bit longer. Like I said, I haven't been doing much, so it's just been kind of hanging out and healing. I did manage to go to Harbor Freight the other day. They had a sale, and it was like 40% off anything on clearance. So I picked up another grinder. So that was a good deal. And of course, if they have stuff discounted, it's a lot of times it's worth getting. I like those tapered step drills. So I always, if they got them on sale, I'll buy some of those. I can never seem to have enough of those things. Just they're very, very handy and easy to work with. Jerry, talking about welding, I'm learning how to weld aluminum with a spool gun. Talk about rough looking. I did a I did a little video on that with the, which one was it? I think it was the Yes Welder. Yeah, the Yes Welder, their updated MIG 205 DS. That was the one. I did a video on that, and I had used their spool gun, and I had never done that before. I had never welded aluminum ever, and I was pretty happy with the results, because obviously I'd never done it. But I mean, it's one of those things that if you have experience with welding, some things will kind of flow naturally, and when you're doing it, and that's the way I felt like when I was welding that. So, I hadn't even thought about the idea that I could. Well, let me back up. So what I'm doing, I have welding I weld in here all the time, and I've had people ask me, "Hey, can you fix my mower, weld the mower deck, and can you whatever?" And I'm fine with that. I like to do stuff like that. It keeps me busy, and I like to weld. But I hadn't really thought about the idea of using the spool gun and trying to fix up stuff. Now, what would you weld with it? I know there's people that have like aluminum John boats and stuff like that. They maybe get a crack in them or something. So I hadn't really thought about that. I might have to add that to my resume, that I can weld some aluminum stuff. Gene just purchased that grinder and love the paddle. Yes. Yeah, so I had one of those, and I kept having to swap the discs out, and they had the same thing on the closeout, and I got it for like $17. And I said, okay, I'll take it. As long as it works, and it does, I'll just use it. Just use it. Troy, Car Guy Troy, sorry. I see your blast cabinet in the background. Do you have it hooked to a shop vac, vented, exhausted, outside, or just open up the garage door type thing. I used to not use the shop vac, and I found that that's not a good idea. It was not good. So when I use that now, I hook my shop vac to it and just run it. I did work on sealing it up more, and that's the Harbor Freight brand thing. And Robert helped me put some lights inside of that, so it's much better when you add your own lights to that setup. The light that's in there is just worthless. So yes, I run the AC, I run the vacuum on it, and that's about it. I don't have any other connections to it going anywhere, but yeah. Michael Pagliarini, what are your thoughts on TIG for sheet metal? Good question. I have not really. I mean, some people are pretty handy with a TIG and can make that look good. I haven't really tried it, so I don't know for sure. I'd have to have a lot more experience using the TIG on various pieces of metal before I got comfortable enough to do it on a piece of sheet metal, because when you're experimenting or you're trying to learn the adjustments, it's easy to make mistakes and just destroy whatever you're trying to weld. I'm much more comfortable with the MIG and just doing my thing with it. I would like to do more TIG welding, but I look at TIG as like if I wanted to. I don't want to say that I will or would, but if I was going to if I had the skill set and I was really good with the TIG, and I wanted to put in like a roll bar, I would be happy to use the TIG on that, just because it's so clean and looks good when it's finished. The MIG does too, but the TIG just has that nice, really finesse look to it. So I can see where you're coming from with that idea, but me personally, I just haven't gotten to that point where I could be comfortable using the TIG. Also, depending on what I'm doing, positioning and getting set to weld, those sort of things, a lot of times for me, if I'm like inside or underneath something, I can't get both hands in there anyway. So the MIG just makes it much easier for me to weld up stuff. So that's a good question, but I don't lean towards the TIG for the stuff that I do. Jerry, I fabricated an all aluminum TV mount. It did turn out okay, even better after powder coating. Okay, well that's cool. Greg's Workshop is checking in from Australia. Glad you're here, Greg. Robert, I have a small Cyclone and dedicated cheap shop vac on mine, and then the exhaust goes outside. I think I showed it on my blasting at home video using crushed glass. You can see much better than with coal slag. Okay. Yeah, I haven't. I think for me, I haven't. I haven't created an outside vent to push it out. I probably should, but I just haven't. Oh man, yes. JK, Jeff. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. That really comes in handy this time of year whenever YouTube is not. YouTube drops off so bad in the early part of the year. Just really bad. Evan's Garage. Got a scoot. Rest up, Barry, and cheers all. Glad you're here, Evan. Let's see. Jerry, I have a Tornado with a 5-gallon bucket and a shop vac. It traps the heavy particles coming out of the blast cabinet. Yeah, I've seen those, but I just haven't ever haven't built one. Bad Harry, I just installed my exhaust. Have to share that if anyone has an exhaust system to do. The MagnaFlow kit was an excellent fit. All the clamps and hangers are supplied. I sent a few pictures. Okay, here we go. Oh, wow. Let me see if I can get some of these up. Yeah, that is a nice looking setup. I'm going to share those. Let me delete some things and pull those up. And I know you sent me a video or two, so I might be able to just play the video right on top of in front, play it from your link so everybody can hear it. Let me see. All right. So we're gonna experiment here. So this is the MagnaFlow. Let me pull that comment down real quick. The MagnaFlow exhaust, and we'll also see if I don't know if I can. See if it'll play. Here we go. Oh, wait a minute. I don't hear any sound. I don't hear any sound. I was hoping it would be an exhaust sound. So that doesn't help. So anyway, there's the exhaust tips. Here is over the axle. So that looks really nice. There's a forward shot with the mufflers themselves tucked up in the openings behind the footwell, and then the crossover looking aft. Yeah. Oh, I see those frame connectors too. That's nice. That looks really nice. Give you some bells for that. Very cool. Thanks for sharing that. Bad Harry, TIG welding takes a lot of practice. My brother's a pipe welder, and I just bring him over as he makes it look so simple. Yeah. Car Guy Troy, TIG is really cool and all, but starting out is a bit frustrating. Seems to take a lot of practice to get it right, and hard to get it in the right position, at least for me anyway. Not good at it yet. Yep. That's what I was saying earlier. It's hard to get in there sometimes when there's something you want to weld. Dwight Douglas, welcome Dwight. I bought some of those green Chinese cutoff discs and found they didn't fit my grinder. I used a step bit and bored the hole out to 7/8 inch to make them fit. Okay. And Steve Dickerson says, howdy from Texas. Howdy, Steve. I don't know if I gave Dwight an extra bell. I might have given, I don't know. Everybody gets a bell. Robert says those pipes look like they fit really well. I would agree. And Michael, I just started learning how to TIG. It's definitely harder to master than MIG. My game plan is to get good with the TIG before welding any body panels. Practice, practice, practice. Yes. Yeah, I haven't done a whole lot of TIG, but I'm very comfortable with the MIG. Very, very comfortable with the MIG. Like I said, I mentioned before, growing up, all we had at the junkyard was a Tombstone, the Lincoln 220 Tombstone welder, and everything we welded with was with that. And I commented on that video. I think I did for the Art Captain, that I hooked it up and did stick welding with that, and that I honestly said that was the first time I've stick welded in almost 40 years, I think. And I was amazed at how quickly, I did not pre-weld anything. When I shot the video, I just put the rod in there and just went for it. And voila, all those years ago as a kid, where that's all I did was stick welding, just like came right back. And I was like, man. Now, I don't have much use for stick welding anymore, obviously, but it's nice to know that I can still do that. What's funny about that, too, is whenever I was going to school for aircraft maintenance, and this is up at Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics, and they have, it's a full-on 21 months of training. And I probably mentioned this before, but they had a welding course where you had to do different types of welding, and some of it was acetylene. So that was a different thing that I really hadn't messed with before. But that was part of the training. And so when I was doing my test panels and putting stuff together, they looked at what I was doing, and they kind of stopped me after a couple of days, and they said, "Hey, would you like to work on something else?" I said, "Sure. What do you got?" And they had a small aircraft. I don't know what it was. It was, I'm pretty sure it was a fabric covered aircraft, but it was the fuselage was all tube structure, and it had been flipped over in a windstorm, and the tail was smashed. And so what they had done is you could buy that tail assembly from the manufacturer, and you can sleeve it together. And so they take, it's all pipe. It's just pipe is all the fuselage is made out of. And I forget what the diameter is, if it's 1/2 inch or something. But they sell an internal pipe. So you put a rosette weld, or you drill a hole through the pipe, put the sleeve in, and do a rosette or plug weld on each side, and then you sleeve the other section, bring it over top. And so basically 4 of those connections, I think it was at least 4, put those together. And so they handed me this and said, "Here's your project, finish it." Like, okay. So there I was with the acetylene deal, welded it all in, and they were like, "All right, we need to find something else for you to do because you don't need to do this anymore." So, okay. It was pretty fun. Robert, welding that 8.8 axle tube was so nice. I forgot how easy it is to weld thick steel. So much nicer than sheet metal. Yes, I agree 100%. Thick metal is just like butter when you turn that MIG up. Hey, you know what? Here's something I've been running into, a little bit of a problem. And I'm sure it's out there, but I have... I usually use 25 or 30 thousandths wire in my MIG, and I've been to Harbor Freight several times now over the last month or so, and they don't have any 30 thousandths wire. And I haven't looked anywhere else. I probably should. I should look on Amazon or something, but I was really kind of shocked. They had 35, and they had, what else did they have? Like, I don't know, 39 or something. I don't know what the numbers were, but I like the 30 thousandths, and they didn't have any. So, just kind of odd. Bad Harry, my first body panel repair, I brazed, welded, everything. Yeah. It's still an effective repair. That was something that was common. Back in the day, they would do that at body shops and stuff. Nick. Hello, Nick. Glad you're here. Oh, man. Okay. I'm probably going to end up calling it a night. It's been good. I can already feel my voice is starting to get rough. I can feel it getting scruffy, and that's usually my sign that it's time for me to go. But it's been good. I do plan to be back here next Monday. I am going to try to do some more small stuff around the shop. I need to clean up, organize, but the difficulty again is not lifting things. That is just the big struggle. Big struggle. Not lifting anything. Dave Tyson, TIG is a lot like gas welding. Yes, it is. It actually is. So, Robert, been seeing a lot of 35 lately too. Was looking for stainless and running into that tube. For your information, stainless Wire is much cheaper on Zorro, part of Granger. Okay. Well, I'll keep that in mind. All right. Well, it's been a good night. I hope everybody has a good week. And if nothing else, we'll be back here next Monday at 7 o'clock and see how the weekend goes, right? So until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.